Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review movies and today's movie is Civil War. It's a political thriller with a bit of action on the side. The story follows four journalists as they make their way across a war-torn America to try and interview the president. Alex Garland wrote and directed the film, which stars Kirsten Dunst as Lee, Wagner Moura as Joel, Kaylee Spaney as Jesse, and Stephen McKinley Henderson as Sammy. Let's start with the good. The visual journey is incredibly well done. You watch as these four people make their way across the United States on a road trip. The experience is filled with beautiful nature imagery, and also chaotic scenes of soldiers fighting in small skirmishes. The fights are gun battles with explosions going off everywhere. People are getting shot left and right, and we get brutal exchanges where soldiers execute their prisoners, shoot unarmed civilians, and commit various war crimes. Each of these scenes are visceral, intense, and highly impactful. Then they take little moments to capture tragic artistic shots of the battle. They're like a breath of fresh air in a vacuum, reminding you that despite all of the chaos, there's still beauty in the world. There's a lot of standout moments in the visual journey too. Like at one point, there's a shot of them driving through a burning forest. We see their car driving through a row of flaming trees and watch as the ashes float down onto the road. It's a mesmerizing moment filled with emotion, and the images you're seeing perfectly capture the feeling. You'd be hard-pressed to find any part of this film that isn't shot incredibly well. The soundtrack is also filled with catchy songs from a variety of genres. There's a bit of blues, rock and roll, rap, etc. The music adds a ton of flavor to the atmosphere and at times works well with the visuals to create cinematic moments. They did a good job of making the journey feel a bit forlorn while still making the action moments pop with excitement. The cast as a whole is pretty solid with their performances as well. There's the four leads playing journalists reacting to the war, and their reactions are fantastic. We get lots of horror, rage, and sorrow, as well as a few jolly moments. The rest of the cast are extras who appear for brief moments throughout the journey. Soldiers and other reporters they encounter, or the president, who appears a few times. They each get a big personality and do a decent job of it. One moment that especially stood out was when Nelson Lee's character appeared. He plays another reporter joining them on the journey and ends up going through a horrific experience. His reaction to that moment was absolutely heartbreaking, and Lee did a fantastic job of it. Okay, now that we've been over the good parts, I think we should address the problems. The story doesn't actually have a conflict in focus. We're not focusing on the war, what started it, or what's going on with it. We just see scenes from it, like we're watching a newscast from a faraway land, and it makes it impossible to invest emotionally. We're also not really investing in a character journey. None of the journalists have any big motivations in the film aside from interviewing the president, and that pretty much gets dropped near the end. The only real growth that happens is with the young reporter Jessie getting her first taste of war reporting, and it isn't interesting enough to sustain the film for 2 hours. The characters are also kind of bland. They're all reporters who act similarly and have similar viewpoints. They react in mostly the same ways, say pretty much the same things, and we don't really learn anything about them or their pasts. The only thing that separates them as characters are minor personality traits, like Joel being a predator or Lee being blunt. They're not pronounced enough to actually make them stand out, but they are technically there. The music isn't always connected to the emotional journey either. There isn't much for it to connect with, but they also didn't do a good job of matching the music to the emotions. Like sometimes they stop in the middle of war scenes and cut away all the sounds of battle, just to put music that totally doesn't fit the mood under it. You'll be watching men getting torn apart by machine gun fire and listening to a song about smelling the roses. It didn't feel like a good juxtaposition, it just felt weird and wrong. Overall, Civil War is just another pretty nothing. It's not doing anything new in terms of storytelling, graphics, or sound-wise. It's just war porn for moviegoers. There's nothing and no one to invest in, and there's nothing to take away from the film other than war is bad. If you're into really pretty visuals and catchy soundtracks, you could give this a try. Otherwise, I'd at least wait until it comes out on streaming. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 5 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye!